All right. Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Rich Sanford, aka Rich the Architect, and we're back here again for another episode of Rich the Architect, but the What's Next series. Today I have four more guests. Like the last episode, all of these guests today are with the Legacy Club of the Philly Man, Jersey Man magazine, and I'm really honored to have them on today. Before we get into it, I also want to say that none of the opinions that are said or expressed today are related or in relation to any of the member, or not the members, but the anyone involved with the Jersey Man, Philly Man magazine. So let's just get right into it. We'll let all of our guests today introduce themselves. So Eileen, why don't you start?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for putting this together, Rich. It's nice to see Legacy members together. My name is Eileen Scardino. The name of my company is The First Seven. I'm an image consultant and I concentrate on helping men dress well without a lot of hassle. I'm a mobile stylist, so I have the opportunity to work with them any place from formal wear, suits and ties, casual wear, to even custom golf wear. So I make their life easy and help them dress well.
All right, great. Thanks, Eileen. Shana?
Hi, I'm Shaina Fannin. I'm an interior designer. Have been for 14 years, and unofficially launched my business about 3 years ago, and then took it full time last April, actually. And I've been a member of Jersey Man Philly Man for like 4 years. And yeah, thank you, Rich, for putting this together.
Okay. Thank you, Shana. Justin, why don't you jump in?
Yep. Thanks, Rich. Appreciate you having me today. So Justin Deal, Vice President of Payday Payroll Resources. We are a local family-owned payroll company. We focus on serving small to medium-sized businesses. Our definition of that is under 150 employees. It's basically my job to save you time, save you money, and streamline your payroll process. So again, thanks for having me. Looking forward to kicking this off.
All right, great. Thanks, Justin. And finally, John.
Yeah, hello. My name is John Cooper. I work for a company called Perlow Productions. We're a corporate video production animation firm. So what we do is we create marketing content, instructional content, product videos, really anything you've seen on a screen. We're capable of doing it. And yeah, that's kind of the story. I've been there for about a year and with Jersey Man the whole time. It's been great. I hope to provide a little bit of a younger person's perspective, or at least a super younger person's perspective for all of this that we're going through right now.
All right, great. Thanks, John. Yeah, so with this What's Next series, every episode here is going to be a different type of topic, but kind of centered around the what's next. So, again, with the pandemic that's currently going on, with the stay-at-home order and all of that, today's question is going to be, well, how's everyone been connecting and staying connecting with families, clients, even the public outside of a virtual call like a Zoom? I think that's pretty much a common thing that everybody is using. And then any of those techniques that you're using moving forward, what are any of these techniques that you might implement or you're going to implement once the world becomes quote unquote normal again?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I've been doing a lot of obviously like Zoom calls, but also been using a lot of Dropbox, working with realtors to help them during this time. There are some people who still have to sell their home, who still need to list their home, or they need to move. And, right now staging, it can't happen. You can't bring in furniture from outside. So how do I, jump in and help realtors who need to list homes? How do we get their homes photographed, as beautifully as possible so that they're actually looking desirable to sell? So, I've been not just utilizing Zoom, but also Dropbox. And what's cool is that, the homeowner can upload the pictures, and then I can go through and I can make notes with the realtor, and then the homeowner is able to, make these changes. So, I think things like this are really interesting ways to use technology that I wouldn't have thought to use them before. And I think is really helpful and would continue to be helpful moving forward in maximizing my time, so that I'm not always, from the initial conversation with a client, always having to drive out and see their home. Especially for a smaller project, it might be beneficial for them to take photos of their own home and me be able to kind of jump onto a call, especially because, who knows how long we're going to be quarantined. I think that's been really helpful, is not just relying on Zoom, because that can be awkward, like asking someone to walk around and show me like with their camera and try to comment as you go. So Dropbox has also been super helpful.
Yeah, and I know of, actually, just to jump in real quick, is I know of another architect that I do work with sometimes. He actually is doing virtual calls.
Yeah.
With new clients where they're walking around with videos. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
And I'll jump in too. So, I mean, our biggest thing being in the payroll industry for the last several weeks has obviously been the CARES Act and the IDL. So when it comes to clients, one of the best approaches has been honestly just email. We've been sending email blasts out regularly because there's so much info out there, especially when you go on social. Unfortunately, it's not always all accurate. So we're trying to make sure that our clients always get the best info and the most up to date. So we've done a lot of blogging more recently. That turns into the email marketing, but it's really just keeping folks informed, being available. When it comes to family, FaceTime has been the number one. I have 3 young kids, so everybody always wants to see them and brighten their day a little bit. So we're doing tons of FaceTime calls. And I would agree with Shane. I think Zoom's the obvious one, but this is something we never really used as much in business before. I would use it for like tutorials and to train clients, but I wasn't using it on the sales side really at all. So now this has obviously changed. I think really anything outside of a 30-minute drive is going to more than likely moving forward start with a Zoom call. Just make sure everything makes sense. Answer any questions that clients have, because I think most people aren't going to want you in their business when things open back up. There's going to be enough to figure out with just getting your staff back in, splitting shifts, doing things like that. But I think the Zoom is really going to be one of the most powerful keys outside of social media when it comes to just kind of keeping in touch, staying visible. Shana and I actually had a great conversation yesterday about that. She does a great.
Justin, we're kind of, is Justin breaking up for everyone here? Justin, you kind of broke up a lot.
No.
Oh, really?
Oh, you got it? Yeah, it was breaking up on my end. I don't know. Just maybe.
No, I could hear him.
I got AirPods on. So.
Yeah, could you just like the last, I don't know, your last point there, just add that there, just in case. Because it's probably, if I didn't hear, it might have not recorded.
Okay. Yeah. So last part I was saying was really just double down on with social as well. I've been talking to Shana. We had a great convo last night, and she was kind of giving me the ins and outs of what she's figuring out marketing wise. She's definitely much better at it than I am, and she's serving a lot of great clients to help with that. Absolutely. But it's the YouTube channel, funneling things down to Facebook, LinkedIn, and making sure that you have a presence so everybody who's home right now can see you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. John or Eileen, you want to?
Yeah, one thing that I found, I could have done it the entire time, but something I found that I've been doing now is being a lot more active in client area Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups and stuff like that, where I'm able to kind of directly interact. And I try not to be salesy. I don't push my product, but I genuinely, if someone asks a question in there that I might be able to answer, I give them the answer. And that has built a good deal of rapport with me and made me connections that, all over the country that I wouldn't have had just going to, as much as I love Jersey Man, I'm never going to meet, a principal in Canada at a Jersey Man event. So it
not yet.
Me to, well, not yet. Yes, until Jersey Man expands nationally. But that's kind of a thing that I've been very successful with so far.
Okay.
So it's my turn. So in the past, I have been a mobile stylist, so I've been able to say to men that I will come to their home or office. Well, obviously that's not happening now, but our company now has proprietary software where I can ask a certain set questions and it will populate an algorithm that gives a really great opportunity for a good fit. So it's changing the way I'm doing my business. It's not so much in person, but as I did this morning, I was able to do a fitting with a gentleman that is a groom in a couple of weeks. He put the suit on and we have to do 1 or 2 little tweaks. It was all done on a Zoom call. So like everyone else has said, Zoom calls have become way more popular for me, not just with my clients, but also with my family as well. So the virtual appointments have been great. I'm also offering guys the opportunity for a complimentary closet clean out during this time when they're looking and spending time at home to assess what they've got, what works, what doesn't work, given, and with the help of an eye that's a little bit more neutral, that might encourage them to give up that favorite sweatshirt that really doesn't do anything for them. So I've been offering that to my current clients as well as my prospective clients for them to kind of get a feel for how this might work. We're not sure exactly what's going to be going on in the shopping world, going forward. So I'm trying to share information about how I can help men now so that they can be ready and use this as a platform going forward that's going to help them. And then the last thing I just wanted to share is, my company that I'm associated with, J. Hilburn, has done its own little pivot, and we have access to masks for our clients. So I've been spending some time, delivering them to my clients so that they have something that's going to be, putting my face and my name in front of them, as well as be helpful to them in their, continued dealings with their clients and family and whatever they're doing. So it's a whole new world, but, I think all of us have shared that we've done some kind of pivoting that, we probably didn't really realize that we had some of these skills available to us. And now when the push comes to shove, we're actually using them and being successful at them, which is the best thing that we can all say.
Right. Yeah.
Necessity is definitely the mother of ingenuity. You got to figure it out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. True enough.
Actually, let me a follow-up question with because you mentioned a virtual fitting. How does that work? Because you mentioned that the gentleman had his own the suit or your suit. And
So for this particular groom, I asked him maybe 6 or 7 very general questions. Height, weight, how big your belly is, that kind of thing. But then I also had the opportunity, Rich, to ask him, like, do you wear a watch? Do you wear a big watch so that we can accommodate like a cuff and the size of the cuff, depending on whether a guy wears a watch or not. Some of those particular things about what he likes in terms of the fit of his clothes. Does he like them tight to his body? Does he like them a little bit looser? And then from there, I was able to share, we split a screen, and he was able to go on my website and be able to pick a material, a fabric for a suit, the lining, a shirt, shoes, a belt, and have all those things in place. And then it was created, it was sent directly to him because they can't send to me anymore. The finished products were sent to his home. And then we got on a Zoom call and he put each of the pieces on and we compared what how it fit with the clothes on, how we wanted them to fit. And I'll tell you a little something. He did share with me, he was very honest, he did gain the COVID-10. So we have to do a little bit of tailoring,
right?
Because it's gotten a little tight around certain areas. But I've already found a tailor in his town that is open for business.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
There's a tailor in his town that is open for certain days, certain times, so that we can easily take care of doing those little adjustments. And if it's done within a certain window, Jay Hilburn pays for it, and it's no additional expense to my client.
That's
so
great.
It's a win-win situation in my eyes. Does that help answer your question?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I love that you're using local tailors, like someone local to your client, because I think, you can be a national company and still support local.
Yes.
And I think that's really critical and really cool that you guys do that.
Yeah. And of course, I'm hoping that this gentleman, when he goes to the tailor, he wants it let out a little bit, but he's not going to let it out too much so that he stays comfortable in that bigger size, that he needs to eventually have it taken in a little bit more when he loses that COVID-10.
Yeah.
Right. Now, were you doing that, like, in terms of having local tailors do some of the work previous to COVID in the shutdown? And
Yes.
Okay.
So this was an opportunity that was always available to clients of using a local tailor. And let's face it, if there are two options that we can go if something doesn't fit a gentleman. You can have it completely remade, or you can have it just tailored. Most times it just needs a little bit of tweaking to fit him. And as Shana said, you're using local talent to be able to get to fix a problem and be a resource. And it's going to be far less expensive and less timely also, as opposed to having something completely remade. It takes a little bit more time than taking it to a tailor.
Okay, great. Hey, John, I know with your work with augmented reality, is there a way to tie some of, whether it's Eileen or Shana's kind of processes with what you do?
I mean, as far as augmented reality is concerned, certainly. I mean, to explain to those who aren't sure about what augmented reality is, it's not virtual reality where you put the headset on. It's like that without a headset. So we'll create an app for your phone that recognizes target images in the real world, and will play video or animated content appearing to be in the real world. So if you ever play Pokemon Go, you've seen that like little augmented reality, like the Pikachu goes on your desk sort of thing. And that's what we're talking about. So as far as like a tailor, you could have an app, you could send out like a mailer with a person on it, and you could have an app where I can look at like the person, put different suits on them, put different accessories on them, all on my phone, and have it kind of be in the real world. You could also do that with a home. I've seen it done with that sort of an interior design thing. I'm forgetting the exact term for it, staging, for home staging, where you can have a picture of a room and put different pieces of furniture in the room. It's all possible. There's kind of the sky's the limit with that technology, and it's very much a new frontier. There's most things we're doing, we're like, oh well, we've never really even seen that before, but we're going to do it. So yeah, there's many different ways. We're doing less of it now because people are going out to see the augmented reality setups and stuff. But when stuff reopens, we plan on getting that again hard.
Yeah. You gonna say something, Eileen? Or?
No, I was going to say that just sounds so interesting. I had never even knew that was a possibility. I really like the idea of that.
Yeah, I could see retail, like somebody had mentioned retail earlier, and using augmented reality in the retail environment. I mean, I've seen there's already applications out there, like a furniture shop or something where they can do the staging and bring that in. So I see where that could be a shift on a retail. Whether it's clothing or furnishings or something else, you want to know what it looks like on your shelf, you could actually do that online, or in some cases now, but probably more in the future. So, so in terms of moving forward, I mean, where, some of these things, especially like with connecting with whether it's your current clients or maybe some of the newer clients you've gotten like during this time, what are some of these techniques you can see that can really be working in the future for you, to help grow and sustain your business?
I'll jump in. I think a big thing that I've started to do through all this was the local business interviews. So 2020, kind of before all this happened, I really wanted to start focusing back on my surrounding areas in my hometown, just because I was already so connected to that community. And then when I looked it up, we have like 7,600 businesses in our town alone. So I was like, wow, that's kind of a big pot that I've never really spent a ton of time, trying to farm. So this has been a great way. Cold calling's kind of tough during these times. It's an awkward conversation to have with a lot of people, especially because you don't know where their business is and how drastically it was affected. So this has been a great way to kind of warmly discuss what people's businesses are. When we talk offline, I can usually hear some of their pain points, and it's been great to have such a big network to then be able to plug other folks and kind of help their business and resolve whatever issue it was. But I was actually talking to Shana about it last night. I want this to keep evolving. So the next phase of the interviews is more going to be for the local businesses when they're getting ready to open up doors, for the restaurants, the salons, what they're implementing procedurally to keep their staff, keep the clients safe. And then from there, I really just want to turn it into client spotlight videos where all of our clients will just be kind of a free marketing service that's added in with their payroll. Because it really is, it's a great way to stay visible. It's great content. You know, you're really helping push somebody else's business and give them the platform that, you know, a lot of business owners just don't have the time. But now carving out 15 minutes, 20 minutes for an interview for them to speak on their business and give that personal side for the community to really kind of, you know, relate to. And again, kind of goes back to what John was saying earlier. I then kind of all the local township talk and all of our local groups. I have about 8 that I'll put all the posts in, and again, just try to get eyes on all these other businesses. And again, it's just really about adding value any way I can at this point and helping.
Yeah, something tells me that I'm going to see you like at all these different restaurants getting free lunches and breakfasts and dinners and whatnot.
Well, I think that's a great idea because you have a data. I mean, you know, you have we all have a database that, you know, or people in our network or, you know, clients and for you, Justin, I think that's great to have like a Payday client spotlight, you know, and be able to cross promote businesses. It just makes perfect sense because you're already reaching out, you know, all of your clients for other businesses. So, and many of them smaller businesses. So it's just great for them to be able to, you know, use each other rather than having to go outside of that pool. I think it's a great idea.
Absolutely. And it's been a great snowball effect. You know, a lot of businesses, once they get in and they're like, oh, wow, this guy really it wasn't a sales pitch. He really was just highlighting my business. I mean, I don't even talk about Payday outside of just introducing myself. And yeah, the next thing you know, they introduced me to 5 or 6 people who maybe didn't know who Payday was. And now at least we have that conversation. I help them. And, you know, when I call them in a month or 2 and things get back to normal, it'll hopefully be answered a little warmer than typical.
Yeah.
Right.
I could actually give you an example recently, you know, because Justin and I, you and I, like you live in Washington Township. I live in Williamstown, so we're the next town over. But 2 nights ago, my daughter was craving donuts. So I can give you one guess of where I went yesterday morning.
Mama Buns, baby.
Yeah. We went over there, and actually we had a couple extra this morning. So that's what I had for breakfast. But you know, and I've been there before, but it was just a reminder that was nearby, and it was like, yeah, you can go to a Dunkin' Donuts or something like that. But it was like, when I told her, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go over. She didn't remember the name of it, but I told her, I was like, remember when we went and the lady was asking if your mom liked coconut? And I told her, I was like, well, Dad likes coconut. It was like, you know, a funny joke. She's like, oh yeah, we gotta go there. So that's
yeah, they're awesome over there because a lot of people don't know, right? It's kind of a guessing game a lot of times, especially in food. You know, who's open, who's not. So it's been great. My wife actually just did the same. We have friends that have sent us some baked goods since we've all been in quarantine, and she wasn't really baking, being pregnant right now, but she went over, got a bunch of Mama Buns and dropped them off as a little thank you as well.
Yeah. I got to think, with your wife being pregnant, you probably have a few cravings you got to take care of.
And very, very random. So that's why I think I know every food place that's open. So if you need a cuisine, let me know. Chances are I know a spot.
Right. So, anybody else with, you know, kind of moving forward?
Well, one of the things that I've been a part of for the last couple of weeks, maybe 6 or 7, and it's part of the Legacy Club, was a group of us have gotten together on Tuesdays and Friday mornings for like a phone call like this. And Mike Perlow from John's company is there. And one of the things that he has graciously opened up to all of us is that if we wanted to do like a little blurb about our business and send it to him, he would open it up and, you know, edit it, put our logo in, and then and then send it back to us so we could put it up on Facebook or whatever kind of platform that we would like, which for someone like me that's not savvy in that area, it was a wonderful, fabulous suggestion. And you know that I've already suggested Perlow Productions for something else that Mike has done and offered up, in that, you know, virtual graduations. So I think the kind of interactions that we're having now and the offerings that are available, we're going to make use of them now if we can, but then we're going to, as Justin said, we're going to remember those people when we come out of this. It's like, oh yeah, that's the guy that talked about the donut place that was open that's not that far from our house. And that's the guy that did the virtual graduation in a time that I was pulling my hair out about how to honor a graduate. So I think that all of this really does go far in setting the stage for not only now, but propelling us to the future. And I for myself personally, in addition, I think that I've really connected with different people on LinkedIn as a result of this. I never was truly a big user of LinkedIn, but this has kind of forced me, by my own choice, for the greater good and good reason, to connect with people in different ways for the same thing. How can I help you? Can you help me? Maybe not today, but maybe down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of that, as she mentioned, we're offering to do that for free. We've been offering our services, a lot of services, for absolutely free, because when we started this, we were looking at, and we weren't even sure what we were going to do, but we knew what we could do to help people. We knew how we could use our services to help people, and we hope that we would kind of be remembered after this. And what we found is we've been remembered during this. We expect to continue to be remembered after this, and honestly, one of the things we'll probably continue to do moving forward is just finding those ways to offer free services to help people, because it has been good for us. When you're good to people, they'll be good back to you. And I think that's something we'll kind of take from this and continue. Not that we're bad to people, but kind of that going the extra step during these times. I think we'll continue to go that extra step as we get out of this as well.
I think it's putting back in the forefront of our minds. I mean, I know the principle for me has been taught to me from the beginning is when you're networking, when you're growing your network, when you're looking to connect with people, you always want to be giving first. And that's always been a philosophy of mine, just trying to think like, how can I give to this person first? If it's not a connection, is it a piece of information? Is it, is it a networking event, or is it, whatever it is, just, constantly trying to think, how can I, be beneficial to this person? And not always am I able to be successful, but I think in this moment, it's just reinforcing, how is it that I can help this person, and just how can I help being a mantra and an easy thing to remember in this moment. And that's something that I don't want to lose sight of on the other side of this, just making sure that I'm constantly not getting distracted by life as much, and allowing myself to be present in those moments and really remembering, okay, I really want to help this person. I really connected with this person. I really liked them. And, I want to help them, and remembering to do those things quickly, and not just like saying, okay, well, I'll do it sometime in the next week or two, but just doing it right away. And being beneficial to that person, as soon as I possibly can, because I think that reinforces the relationship, and it also shows that you really care. Like if you do it 2 weeks later, I mean, they still care, but it's another thing if you stop and you make sure you're taking care of that person, doing what you can to help them, as soon as you possibly can. And I just think that's been something that I really want to make sure that I'm keeping front of mind moving forward.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. This might take a little bit of a left turn here, but one thing I was just, as you were talking, I just realized, I'm like, I've noticed that a lot of the interactions I've been having, there's plenty of negativity out there with just the general news of a pandemic and all that. But the interactions I'm having with people, even though they're kind of virtual, have been a heck of a lot more positive, I think, than in past when I was in person. One of the things I'm thinking of, like when we, you have a networking event, how many times have you met somebody who is automatically selling you? Like, they're selling you up front.
I don't network with those people.
Yeah. But, I mean, you run in.
Justin knows that. Justin knows. Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's so great to meet you. Have a nice day.
Yeah. So it's like, I realized I have not had a conversation like that in, probably 2 months. Everything online is not like a direct sell anymore. It's more about, having conversations, like figuring, not figuring people out, but, getting to know people.
Yeah.
Well, empathy is the winner right now, right? You have to be understanding and really put yourself in people's shoes. I think, the biggest quote, I guess, that's really stuck with all of this is that we're all in the same storm, but different boats. I think that was perfectly said. And you don't know who's just hanging on with the life raft or who's just got a bunch of tires and a tarp.
Right.
Right.
So it's, you really do. You have to kind of take that step back and not be as aggressive as we have been in the past.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, it's. Oh, Shana, you were gonna say something, or I just.
No, I was just thinking. I was thinking,
okay.
and then I was like, no, I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah. Oh, come on, say it.
I just, to your point, I just think, we don't know what a lot of people are going through, and I know it's really hard. Like I I have a friend who is actually my director. Some of you know this and some of you don't know. I was a semi-professional salsa dancer for 4 years. And the man who is my dance director for those years, he owns a small business at the studio down in South Jersey. And, his wife doesn't work because they have a son who has some developmental difficulties. And so she homeschools and takes care of their son. So right now they have zero income coming in, and just looking at, okay, they own a dance studio. When is it that they're going to be actually able to safely open up and allow people back in? And even when they do, there's probably going to be restrictions on numbers of people. And so I think it's really critical in times like this to remember, to think through the people that both past and present, and think about, how is it that I can be beneficial to this person in this moment? And also think about, how do you help them get back on their feet when they're able to reopen? I think the critical point is going to be that when things open back up, that we not get lost in opening back up, that we continue to focus on helping each other and lifting all boats. Because when the rising tide lifts all boats, we want to make sure that no one's anchored and left behind. And we're not lost in, okay, I can go now, so let's go, full time. We have to make sure that we're only as strong as the weakest link. And if we all are connected as human beings, and we are truly connected, then thinking about ways to help promote other people's businesses who have suffered immensely, during this time, not just restaurants. There's so many other businesses who have had to close.
Yeah, Shana, I can just jump in because my wife owns a ballet school. So I'm totally relating to, I know exactly what the issues are there.
And just figuring out how do we support those businesses? How do we, wear masks, make sure they have masks, because they're not going to be able to afford to buy masks to provide for people. So how do we make sure that they can get back to work and that they can have an income again? Devastating for someone who has a single income household and owns their own business. Doesn't matter how long it's been around, to have to lay off all of their people and not have any income for your family. That's a devastating loss. How do we help them come back?
Yeah, I've seen businesses, not just the dance, but similar businesses like gym or martial arts school or something like that, where they've tried, they're providing virtual instructions, but really it my wife sees it on her school. She's like, it can only go so far, especially with her teaching children. It's like, I'm seeing the same thing with my kids at school. Yeah. Like my daughter, who's in 3rd grade, their school just said, we're not giving them as much work anymore. The days are going to be shorter because they're just, the attention span isn't there anymore. The drive isn't there, So.
And the parents don't have time. If you still have to work from home, parents don't have time to both teach their children and keep their job. If you've got to choose between your kid not having schooling for a couple of months and being able to keep food on the table right now, you're going to choose food on the table. And that's what you have to make. And the kid can survive without 3 months of schooling, and you can find creative ways, weekends or when you're not working, to have fun and be educational. But it's just not possible to ask someone to work from home, deal with all the distractions, take care of their home, teach their kids, and work a job from home. It's not a reasonable ask.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You're all silent because you're like, we have Justin and Rich are like, we have kids and they're young. And
we're living that
100%.
Right. Oh yeah.
My kids are all older and out of the house, but they all have said to me, Mom, we are so glad that this did not happen when we were in, middle school, elementary school, because you would not have handled it very well. Yeah. Well, it's true. I wouldn't have.
Like I've had my oldest, who's 15, we were actually just talking yesterday because he's kind of hit this kind of low point right now and he really wants to see friends and stuff like that. And we were talking like, I was I was in high school in the early 90s, right? So I was thinking back when I was his age, being 15 at 1989, 90, whatever it was. But I'm like, well, I had Nintendo, but there's only so many games of Super Mario Brothers that I could play. That
there's only like 6 games back then on the whole world. So.
Yeah. I was telling him, if you've ever seen videos of like the people who play like Super Mario Brothers, like and beat it in like 30 seconds, I was like, I probably would have gotten to the point with that or something, But other than that, I'd probably be strangling. My sisters and I would be fighting, real quick.
You know what we pulled back out? Who remembers the Wii? We still have one.
Oh.
And all the accessories, and they're still functioning. So we pulled it back out, and we've been doing like playing like Mario Kart and things like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot we even had it still. And I didn't even know it still worked. And you have to put a disc in it.
We did the same. I have 3 of them sitting in. We realized we have 3 of them in our house, and we tried to pull out Guitar Hero, but the guitar was broken. The drum didn't work, so. My son was playing with the guitar, but you can only strum like down or something. So it was like half of it. It didn't work that well. So, but yeah, that was a surprise because he's got his Xbox and all the the latest stuff, but he was up in the other room doing the old stuff. So, but
one of the lifesavers for me has been the Jackbox party games.
Oh, those are so fun.
Them. They're great. They're just, you use your phone, you connect it to a screen, and everyone's like fun, like trivia and stuff. Let's be creative. You can do it over Zoom with literally anyone. It's the same as before. So
it's like a party pack or something that you can. It's like 20. I think it's discounted now. It was like $15 or something last time I checked, and there's like weird named games, and you're like, I don't know about these games. The names are weird, but the games are fun, and it's good to play. I think you can play with up to 10 people. It's 8 or 10. I think
depends on the game.
It depends on the game, but I think. But even with those games, what we learned is that even if there's like 10 people in the game, you can only have 8 people. Even the people waiting, like in the waiting room, are still kind of participating in the game. So that's kind of fun. They're still able to like participate. They're not just watching the game. They still can kind of weigh in, depending on the game. So it's still kind of fun. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, I'm into like some of these more like Euro board games, so a little bit more complicated. So I have one that can simply be described as a Dungeons and Dragons board game, but it has an over 50-page instructions booklet.
Oh,
it's very complicated, and there's a way to play it solo, which that's what I'm doing. But I've had a couple friends who are interested, and I've been thinking about having them set up online, but I'm like, it is way too complicated for me to like try to get somebody involved. But somebody had mentioned earlier Facebook groups and being involved with those. So one of the things with this is there's a Facebook group I'm a member of for this board game, and it's actually showing some people who have a group that play together, how innovative they're being, whether it's the Zoom or a video setup or apps that they found or apps that have been developed since then to kind of help games. So well, and actually, since I did mention Facebook groups, one of the things I've been doing, like I'm in an architects group, and so there's that group, and I'm sure if you're on any other professional groups, related to your profession, people are asking questions, whether business, hey, what did you do when you started up? Because that's probably happening a lot in a lot of industries. People are losing their jobs, so they're probably looking to start their own thing now. Heck, that's what I did back in 2008. So so I'm finding that there's a lot of questions like that. But I had started, like, one of the things I've done is some of the software I've done is I started a mastermind. So I have a mastermind with a couple of other architects. The software that I use is actually, I've been using it for a very long time. I'm pretty good. I'm actually certified by the software developer as a certified professional, whatever it is.
Which one is it?
Revit.
Oh yeah, okay, that's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, so I started I was actually going to do it. It just coincidentally happened at the same time. So I've been doing these weekly masterminds with 4 or 5 other people doing questions, and we've kind of come to the point where we're like, hey, we may have, not that we're going to create a firm, but now we have a network of people that if something happens down the road, a bigger project or something, now we have a network that we can all work together. So it's potentially growing the business that way too, just by in my case, just talking about software, but any professional could have something like that as a mastermind. Have
you guys explored Nextdoor at all, by the way, speaking of groups?
Never heard
Like
of it.
it's an app, and it kind of, whether or not it's beneficial to you depends on how active your town is. You go on and you like put in your telephone number and your address, and then they like mail you like a flyer that like confirms your address, or you can get somebody to invite you into a group or into your town's group. And why I'm bringing it up is because a lot of like people who like, you can't really be on there as a business. You're not posting as a business. You have to post as yourself as a neighbor. I don't know why they don't allow businesses, but as the owner of a business, you can post for that business, but
Right.
your name has to be your name. Um, and it's a lot of small and local owned businesses will be posting about what resources they have. Maybe they're selling masks, or they have hand sanitizer, or they've got whatever it is. People are asking a lot of questions, checking in, and letting you know what businesses are open, who's giving out free food, like all these different resources, that just kind of making sure that everybody in your like local town is connected. And so if it could be a resource for any single one of you to see what local businesses are open, what restaurants are open, and or what things people need, and just being like a resource in that way. It can be really helpful for local business, especially if someone like you, Justin. You might be able to see who's actually open, and who you might be able to connect with, who you might be able to save them money on their payroll, or help them out with the payroll protect, whatever it is. There's lots of people who are looking for things, and people will post like, I'm looking for an architect to help me with a gazebo I want to design. Or I mean, the amount of questions are just random, and it's all just neighbors. So it can be helpful for some local leads, or just to be able to understand who's open and doing business in your town.
I'm part of that in my area. And I found a dog walker to help me out when I was away for, an extended period of time. But a lot of it right now seems to be around, as you said, what's open.
Yeah, what's
restaurants,
open,
first of all. But, yeah, but then some, like asking questions about some other things. And then a lot of information about, individual home needs. My roof is leaking. Who do you know that's still working? That kind of thing, which, was always for a homeowner, a townhome owner, that's always important stuff no matter what, but especially now. But another thing that you, that kind of triggered in my head, are any of you aware of Alignable?
I've heard of it before.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah. I've heard, someone invited me to it, and I've, accepted it. And, it's a lot of local businesses, but then it's more as your business putting up information about who you want to connect with, what kind of work you're looking for, who you want as your next great client. And I haven't really explored it all that much. It's like on the to-do list of things to do during the virus, but it's another resource possibly.
Yeah. And that's the thing. What I found that's beneficial on Nextdoor is that you can, jumping in and answering someone's question, being able to say, oh, you know what, I do know a contractor who's open and working and can help you. And this is how they're safely, working, or, somebody needs a handyman. Okay, I have one, I can connect you with a couple. I've used a couple different handymen. So, I can say, hey, I have a handyman who's working and is very safe and capable and everything, and so you can be a resource, and it helps get your name out there. And then people naturally are curious, and they're going to want to know what else it is that you do. So you can also post about your business. So once you're kind of inserting, a lot of comments, then you can also like post about your own business, and people really latch onto that, and they really, there's a lot of buzz that you can create for yourself if your town is active in Nextdoor. If it's not really going to be all that beneficial. But usually towns are either really active on Facebook or really active on Nextdoor. They're not usually really active on both. So you might find like your town has a page perhaps, or a local town, that you can jump into those groups. Those can be really helpful.
Does Nextdoor focus more like the business to consumer, or does it like, a
Not
town
for
talk
businesses
page?
at all. It's person to person.
Person to person.
Well, I guess is the conversation more catered towards like a town talk page? It can be complete garbage. And so,
It can. Well, that's what I'm saying. It just depends on your town. It really depends on your town. But each person has to register as themselves. But lots of local businesses, they usually live locally, so they're on Nextdoor as themselves, but post about the fact that they're, like, for instance, there's like this place, Sam's Deli in East Windsor, that, you know, the owner posts as his name, but he says, you know, Sam's Deli is open, this is what we're doing for the town, you know. And then somebody else posted, okay, like, these 10 pizza places are each giving out pizza, you know, 100 free pizzas this Friday for anybody who's in need, you know. And so you can see, okay, you know, all these businesses are open. And then other businesses might say, okay, or people might say, oh, I found toilet paper at this price at this business, and or that business might jump in and say, you know, we were able to get this or that, you know, available, or whatever it is. So people are constantly directing people to businesses and other people who can help service their needs. So yes, it's person to person, but that's not what it's really used for. Like, sometimes people are like, I lost my dog, and can someone help me find it? But it's mostly like, you know, this place is open and this is available, this resource is available here. They've got hand sanitizer at the Walmart, they've got toilet paper at the local pharmacy, whatever it is, it's all like, you know. And if you can jump in and be part of the conversation, it can really help to kind of drum up some business for you and to get to know the people in your town, and, you know, and kind of grow your recognition in your town that way. Especially, you know, those of you who live and work, you know, in the same area as you live.
Yeah. No, it's key. I mean, we have in my town, you know, we you know, post here and there on the talk page, like for example, at this time, I have been putting, you know, I've worked for a couple, you know, restaurants, breweries, etc., a couple businesses in town, and I do the, you know, a few of you are familiar with some of the services I provide, but, you know, I provide 3D scanning services and do virtual tours. So I've been here and there on my town's talk page being like, oh, remember going to Grindstone, remember going to 13th, you know, and I have the tour of that and I put that in there.
Yeah. What's more helpful, and that is helpful, but what's more helpful is when you jump into the conversation, respond to someone else's post, helping other people on pages like that. Like, yeah, I've found, yeah, sure, you have to post about your own business, but what seems to be much more beneficial is when you jump into helping other people in a way that's not self-serving, really, at all. It just gets out there in a different way.
Yeah, I think a lot of, you know, it goes back to like what Justin's been doing with his videos. It's like helping other people out is going to, you know, potentially help you out and, you know, I think the general public is going to see you in a more positive view, you know, or positive light, I'm sorry. Then if you're going back to like the networking thing of me and being like, hey, I'm an architect and this is what I do, and hey, do you know anybody? I cost X amount of dollars, you know, like that type of like right up in your face and selling.
Right. Yeah, they don't know you until the town knows you, until people are comfortable with, oh, that's the person who always jumps in and helps. Then they care what you have to say. Until you've demonstrated that you actually care and you've developed a level of trust, even on social media, people don't care that much what you have to say. That's at least what I found.
Yeah, no, I always have a great story about this actual podcast where I got hired for a job by a guy who saw a post about my podcast, and he was like, he started off and said, I don't listen to your podcast, but it was a reminder that you were local, and I got this project.
Yeah,
and,
great.
You know, great project where it's still an ongoing thing for the past couple of years. You know, so
that's great.
Does he listen to the podcast now?
What's that?
Does he listen to the podcast now that you've been working with him for a few years?
I don't think so. He's never, you know, mentioned. Yeah, he's like, no, it's just, I saw it on LinkedIn one day. You know, your post, and he was like, hey, that's an architect that's down the road from me. We need to use an architect. So, yeah, you just never know where it goes. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if you mentioned TikTok before this or prior to us recording, but you know, I always give an example of I messed around with it last fall and never got business from it, but you know, I put something up about me with a video of an electric panel in my building, and it got 700,000 views.
Wow.
And what I realized, I was like, it had nothing to do with electric panel. It was that a conversation started. It actually started with somebody saying something wrong about electric, and people chiming in, correcting him, and then and I wasn't even part of the conversation.
Yeah.
It was like, it just kept on building and building. So I was like,
Yeah.
go right ahead, everybody.
Right. Yeah.
You know? One of those times where I open up notifications and I'm flipping and flipping and I'm like, what is going on here? You know, so you never know with all of that stuff. So, all right, well, we are about an hour in here, so I think this is probably a good spot where we could wrap it up. So I'm gonna let everybody else, let's go back around and you know, again, mention your company, but how everybody can get in touch with you as well. So Eileen, if you want to start.
I'd love to. My name is Eileen. The name of my company is The First Seven. You can reach me by phone at 610-304-2879, or my website is www.yourfirst7thenumber.com. And thanks again, Rich. Nice to see everybody.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Eileen. Shana, you want to jump in?
Yeah, Shaina Fannin, SF Design LLC. I'm an interior designer, and the easiest way to get a hold of me is my cell phone is 609-864-6168, or you can email me. My email is Shaina, that's SHANA, at ShainaFannindesignco.com.
All right, great. Thank you. Justin?
Yep. Thanks again, Rich. So Justin Deal, Payday Payroll Resources. Easiest way to contact me is my cell as well, 609-617-2645. You can also send me an email, jdeal, like let's make a deal, DEAL, at paydaypr.com, or check us out on the web, paydaypr.com.
All right, great. Thanks, Justin. And finally, John?
Yes, John Cooper, Perlow Productions. The best way to contact me is by sending me an email. That's John, Jon, no H, at perlowproductions.com, PERLOW Productions. And you can also call me at 856-669-8369.
All right,
and
great.
Also connect with all of us on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever you can find us.
Terrific.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Okay, and finally, hey, this is Rich, the architect. And again, I'd like to thank all the guests for coming on today. And until next time, the Architect signing off. We'll see you.